Right. Evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a good week. I think everything is just, falling together at the moment. There's so much happening. Can I just see? I'm pretty sure no one started their second assignment. Is that correct? Can I also confirm that we have discussed the second assignment? Okay, that's fantastic, guys. I want to start tonight a little bit. Oh, fantastic, George. Yeah, there's so much going on. Akhil, yeah, there's a lot going on. Now, obviously, I would have loved for you guys to watch those, but that's not important in terms of what we're going to do tonight. Um, I want us to spend a few seconds looking at this. I just want to open it. Where is that? I just need to make sure that I'm in the right place. I'm going to leave this open. And now, those of you that watch the stock market will know what that is. Any comments about what's happened the last three, and I'm going to say three trading days? The last three trading days. The FTSE is up, but it's minuscule. Any comments about where the world is heading? Imagine being a strategic manager having to keep your company afloat. Go for it, James.
Doc, just from what I'm seeing, pretty big similarities to 2008. That's just what I'm noticing.
And we know what happened in 2008. I mean, that was a global collapse that was essentially, and it started in 2007 with the micro lending industry in America collapsing. Now, micro lending is subprime lending, and what subprime lending is, and it's not subprime, is where you lend money to people who can't really afford to pay it back, but because at that stage people had 2, 3 jobs at a rate that is higher than those that could pay it back. So we had the micro lending industry collapse, and the micro lending industry in America employed about 100,000 people, and that caused a worldwide recession. And we see the exact same thing. Obviously, 2020, but in terms of 2020, there's a vast difference. This is man-made. Sorry, Nathan. Now keep your hand up, Boyo. This is man-made. Sorry, Nathan, go for it.
No, Doc, I was just going to comment also on what James was saying and what you've been saying is that just with not necessarily a global context, but also like a just within South Africa in terms of the trade, the tariffs, and everything happening there. I know from I've spoken to individuals who deal with trade between South Africa and the US, and it's incredible what they're going through right now. Just to try and stay afloat because of all the madness going on with Trump and the trade tariffs and everything. It's just crazy.
Absolutely crazy. Now, Trump claims that he caused the oil prices to drop. Oil prices drop because people are too nervous to even invest in anything. People are not driving, people aren't going out. There's a drop in demand. I mean, the oil prices dropped in 2020 because people were going into lockdown. But he's claiming that as a victory. I mean, the false narrative out of that human's mind and out of that human's mouth is insane. Look at the Hang Seng. So, guys, the Hang Seng, sorry, this is the Hong Kong. Now, I mean, this is free fall. Okay, this has gone into free fall. I mean, that is trillions of dollars that's has just been lost in a single day. Now, Hong Kong is an interesting one because they are a proper value add society, and everything they do is geared for the export market. It's also an interesting nation where they don't have a lot of natural resources, but what they have is a knowledge economy and people who are exceptionally bright at adding value to whatever the bits that they import and then resell. That is disturbing. That is a hell of a drop, guys. It's a disturbingly high drop. Some of them haven't dropped, but remember, this is on top of the the losses that were made last week already. FTSE down, and you can see some of the stuff here, guys. It is in free fall. Now, again, the 1.13%, within context, it is a lot bigger. So the simple truth is we have one person to blame for this, and it's this individual here. And obviously, I looked at this earlier today. As I said, he now is trying to control the narrative, claims that all of this is already working, claims that jobs are being created. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. I mean, they're firing people left, right, and center. But this is what happens when you let an autocrat who is a narcissist loose on the world. Go for it, James.
Sorry, Doc. I just wanted to put a thought out there and see what you thought about this. But from a bit of research I've done, I feel like he might be doing this intentionally, because of obviously the 1% in America will maintain most of their wealth even throughout this crash, and smaller businesses and smaller companies will have to almost liquidate and sell, which gives a platform for that 1% to buy. And then when the market recovers, then they'll have a lot more money and assets.
Well, that's where his focus is. I mean, it's turning America into an oligarchy. So what you do is when you have your inauguration, you don't invite world leaders, you invite the wealthiest people in the world. And you impress them with your plans and tax breaks for the wealthy because they create jobs. I think it's a stretch. I think it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but in reality, that is what may happen. I mean, it's an interesting take. I hadn't thought of that. Anyone comment on James's bit there? See, I don't trust anyone anymore, and that's the simple truth. I treat everything with suspicion. Insofar as South Africa is concerned, yeah, I mean, we are desperately scared of the GNU collapsing, because the GNU collapses, our stock market is down the tubes. Go for it, Neil.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to just add, Doc, was what I'm also seeing him do as a result of the tariffs imposed on international nations is it's almost scaring them to some degree to either invest in America to bypass the tariffs, or for them to set up their manufacturing divisions in the US to some degree, thereby bypassing tariffs.
Yeah, but I mean, countries don't operate with a moat around them. Countries who have a moat around them don't succeed. Now, if you add on top of that, America is a knowledge society. Now, all of a sudden, you are taking a knowledge society and you're trying to make them a manufacturing society. They're trying to make it a manufacturing society, which America is not. So how do you change the business model that has worked for America the last how many ever years from a knowledge society to a manufacturing society? The skills aren't there. Those skills sit in China. And it's not something that happens in 2 or 3 years. I mean, you're changing the entire business model of a country because they've been outsourcing their manufacturing. The other interesting one is, guys, and I don't know if I'm going to find it, so please just forgive me if I don't find it. What am I doing? Trump store, where are goods manufactured? Hopefully I can find it based on that. I don't know, and I don't want to watch a video, so hold on a second. I need to move this rubbish out the way. Okay, so where is that? Sorry, guys, I'm not doing that now. But everything in Trump's store is made in China. All, these MAGA hats, all of those are manufactured in China. The MAGA socks, because they're MAGA socks as well. Here they are. Sorry, just hold on a second. Okay, so Trump hotel pens, China or Taiwan, shampoo, body wash, in China, natural spring water comes from, okay, it's local. Trump vodka comes from the Netherlands. I guess something in America here. Yeah, and it really is in 12 other countries. So the stuff that he sells in his shops is made elsewhere. It is made elsewhere because it's cheaper to make it elsewhere. And I can't, sorry, Trump store. I'm trying to find, yeah, I can't, I'm not going to find it. But there's a YouTube video that, yeah, there it is. Only 15% of the products that are found in Trump's store. Now, remember, it's the MAGA hats and all the other nonsense that he sells is made in the US. So here you have a guy who is instructing everyone to manufacture at home, where 85% of the items that are kept in his store are found or are manufactured elsewhere. Any comment about that? Is it do as I say, not as I do? The anomalies that this person is deeply disturbing. I mean, it's deeply, well, it's hypocrisy, and that article says it so wonderfully. Somewhere here, guys, everything is made overseas. Everything is made overseas. Ivanka Trump, because remember, she has her own clothing line. Chinese goods. Ivanka Trump shoes. Where is that made? I don't know, not saying. Donald Trump ties, China. I can't comment, guys. I can't comment anymore. So I really don't know what to say. Now, it's within the context of this that people have to do business. And you're right. I can't remember who said it, that James, I think it was you, that you have friends who export to America. It's just insane. What the Americans are doing is they're buying cars like crazy because 25% is a significant amount, but you're going to run out of stocks. People are importing rapidly to avoid the tariffs, but post the tariffs, those importers will pay. So essentially, it's just a tax on America. He seems to think factories are going to flood back to America. They're not that kind of society. They're not that kind of business model. It is deeply, deeply disturbing. And it's within this context, guys, and please just look at the headlines there. It is really, really bad news. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. And that's one I read as well. Top 5 worst market crashes. And the predictions is that this is going to go worse. It's predicted to, there's that, the .com that burst. So there's a couple, and I think April the 7th is going to be added to that, or whatever the date they'll allocate to that. South Africa, not too bad, guys, but our rand now is it 24 rand something to the pound? I don't know if anyone had seen that, what the rand pound price is. I think it's 24.65. Well, American consumers will fit it. So where do we go, guys? And that's what we're looking at here. Now, the first thing to remember in terms of strategy is that in the old 24, that's nearly 25 bucks. I sound so gangster when I say bucks. 25 rand for a pound. Holy guacamole. So you'll get about 4 cents or 4 pence for a rand in the UK. You'll get about 4 pence, 5 pence for a rand. 99. And then we've got the GNU about to collapse. Oh, I don't know what to say anymore. And the euro, please check that for me, Neil, because the euro should be looking relatively decent. 21, holy guacamole. So it is in this context that we have a strategy and plan. And generally, guys, and oh gosh, I've now stopped trying to draw with my pad and I'm now back to drawing with my mouse. But what is interesting in terms of these strategies, and where is my paint? Yeah, and Picasso is about to strike again. But what is interesting, and oh, come on, sorry, my paint won't pull across. What is interesting about this is that when we look at where strategy fits in, the insanity that is the environment is there. I mean, and I can't draw it better than that. But the simple truth is the organization sits over there. And the way that an organization keeps in step with that environment, and remember, it's about strategic fit and strategic flexibility, is through your strategy. And that strategy is your game plan. It is your set of strategies. It's your set of plans to remain aligned with that environment. So when we think of long-term strategy, it sits between the organization essentially, and I know it's part of the organization, and the external environment. Now, part of strategy is making predictions about the future, and you guys will know that we do a pestle analysis, and we do an analysis of the market environment, the Porter's five forces nonsense. I'm not going to go through this. And then on the basis of that, we create strategies that capitalize on strengths and opportunities and counteract threats and weaknesses. And that's what we have as strategies. What do we mean by long-term in today's world? When I used to do this for organizations, we used to strategize 5 years into the future. What do we mean by long-term? How long is long-term? Sure. Do you still think it's 5 years, Neil? Do you really think people, and it's interesting because, it depends on where you work. I don't think strategies that are 2 years, I think already pushing it. Oh gosh, no. Well, that's it. You model on 5 years. But the truth is, when you model on 5 years, you tend to have a lot of emerging strategies. That's it. So you operate day to day with a lot of emerging strategies. And already, just as a consequence of what happened last week, the emerging strategies that companies are considering are insane. You've got to find new suppliers, you've got to find new markets, you've got to find alternative ways of getting to those markets. And all of a sudden, everyone is starting to repurpose their organization, much like in 2020. Only for CapEx. Yeah, no, CapEx is always going to be 5 years, boy. Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, no, I know that. But even CapEx at 5 years, yeah, CapEx, that's reasonable. Okay, so guys, in terms of strategy, we look at a number of things. The first one is that we talk about strategy from a horizontal and a vertical perspective. The first one is, what products should we be involved in? Now, if you are Volkswagen, and my apologies for defaulting to cars, because I think you guys know where I did my master's and my PhD. But when we think of Volkswagen, and I know we don't get the VW up, but you would have the Polo over here, and from a breadth perspective, you would have the Touareg, I would imagine, sitting over there as the most expensive. Yeah, the Touareg. And in between, you have everything from the Vivo, sorry, that's a Vivo, my apologies, from a Polo to a Golf to a Jetta to a Tiguan to a, and somewhere in there, you'll have caravels and combis, etc. So what they have is that they, from a breadth perspective, those are the products that they're involved in. We also know that vertically, and this is what is being affected by Trump, that vertically you also have to take a decision. Most companies will outsource their manufacturing. So Volkswagen, although we'll call them a manufacturer, is literally assembler. So the manufacturing happen at outsourced manufacturers. And then what Volkswagen will do is they will Lego block those parts or those components together. And then obviously we also have, some sort of need to get the cars ultimately to showrooms and finally to a customer. Oh gosh, sorry, this customer was hit by a bus. Ultimately to a customer. So the question is, who takes those deliveries, etc.? And it's that decision of how much do we outsource. Most companies outsource everything except the Lego blocking. Now, in terms of America, when you want to build in America, cars that are manufactured in America have their parts manufactured elsewhere. Cars that are manufactured in China have their parts manufactured elsewhere. And I think Trump doesn't understand. And as they say, sometimes those parts move between the American and Canadian and the American and Mexican border more than once, because the components get added and there's this to and back flow. And the truth is, you outsource to companies that have as their specialist, their core skills, the outsourced function. So the first thing that we have to decide is, what products are we going to sell? If you Citroën South Africa, I think Citroën only sells SUVs, and I think they've only got 2 SUVs. Volkswagen has a pretty broad base. In terms of the scope of horizontal activities, also which markets and geographic regions do you operate within? All of a sudden, sending stuff to America almost guarantees that it will be returned, because things will jump in price so significantly that people wouldn't want your items anymore. Now, there are multiple ways. What are ways of ensuring that even with the 25%, you could still sell in America? And it's part of strategy as well. What are ways that you could still sell in America? It's about efficiency, guys. So a lot of people, foreign direct investment, but people will also, and you can set up a greenfield operation and a manufacturer in America, which is unlikely, but you can also go digital. You can also go to become more efficient. So you introduce, oh gosh, Neil, people are never going to assemble in the US. It's for me, I think the best thing to do is to become more efficient. And to become more efficient, you mechanize in South Africa and you have robots build your stuff. But the knock-on effect there is that you will then see people lose jobs, because that's one option. But you can also assemble in the US, which is never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So the next one, guys, is to look at competitive advantage. And you can see the kinds of things that customers expect now. People expect value for money. People want quality, and value for money and quality obviously go hand in hand. Speed of service, and I mean, I see Takealot now with their 99 Rand a month will deliver in 24 hours. I mean, that kind of turnaround time. And it's possible to have significant speed. And then product innovation. Yeah, I think, give me some of the most innovative products that you've encountered in more recent times. Interesting innovations. It is that, you're correct, Monley. Interesting innovations, guys. Companies that are really innovative. Yeah, and I don't want to steal too much of my second semester thunder, because remember, we will look at innovation then. But Google is amazingly innovative. I mean, if you ever go to Google and you simply go, oh golly, hold on. If you go Google and you go down here and you find, first of all their stuff, and then you do that, and you will see the stuff that Google's involved in. I mean, absolutely, absolutely astonishing. And you can see other bits and pieces that are there. And Google keeps adding to those. I mean, you can also see some of the others here that are products that are on offer. For me, the latest product that I am very impressed with is Google's AI. I don't know if you guys have seen how really good, and I think it is Gemini. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. The Google AI is really effective in terms of answering almost anything. That it's a Gemini. Thanks, Georgia, for that. So we see that, and then style and design. Obviously, people want something that's good looking. So from a strategy perspective, NVIDIA, in fact, Akhil, which is quite interesting, is one of the companies that is still in the green. You know, so Apple has dropped, we know Tesla has dropped, but NVIDIA is still in the green, which is an interesting observation. How they're doing it, I'm not sure. So I don't know what will happen in terms of where they go in the future with that, but at the moment they're in the green. I mean, also, and please tell me if I've shared this, guys, and if I have, I apologize. Okay, top 300 companies. Oh gosh, yeah, when you can't spell companies registering patents in 24. Did I show you guys this? I can't remember whether I showed you this. Okay, that's not the best looking one. Let me just get one that looks a little bit better. Okay, so these are the companies that are considered the most innovative. Now, remember, innovation in terms of registering patents, and it goes hand in hand. And one of the measures of innovation is obviously going to be registered patents. Have a glance at those. Anyone surprised at the first two, both South Korean firms? Anyone surprised at those? They've been at the top of the pile for a while now. Samsung always at the top, okay? Samsung. LG has jumped significantly. Yeah, Neil, absolutely. 3M has been ages. Now, I don't think 3M is on here, to be honest with you. They might be low down if you can find them. Oh, let me not rush through it. I mean, others that you find interesting. The other South Korean, and remember, South Korea is a dot on the map, hey? Yeah, absolutely. So we can see there Taiwan. Now we know that Taiwan already is problematic in that China will invade them. It's a real concern. Okay, Qualcomm from America, obviously Huawei from China, a couple Americans and then Japanese. But you're right. Those Pacific Rim countries, Tashila, America, some more there, obviously China. Again, 17. So 1 to 17 from a little dot on the map, and that's Hyundai. I think Hyundai, oh no, Toyota is higher than them. Johnson & Johnson, obviously medical suppliers still there, but not big numbers. And then the rest, I don't know. Yeah, this is India, obviously. Is that right? Is that India? I can't, it must be India's flag, that, guys. And then, yeah, and then obviously Germany there. And you can carry on. Do me a favor, when you spot a South African country, tell me to stop. Nokia is still there, despite, jumped 38%. I wonder what big is coming from, coming from there. Where's Ireland? Saudi Arabia Oil Company. The India one. Oh, I got it wrong. Sorry, guys. And then just more and more. The scary thing, I mean, Porsche over there, which is interesting as well. And we can keep going. I mean, I'm at 80. Out of the top 300 innovators, there's 3M, 117. And I know whoever said it, spot on. They used to be at the top, okay? They're 117 now. And you can carry on, and you can carry on. And there is not a single company from an African country on here, guys. Just let that just sit in your mind for a second. There is not a single company from an African country on here. It's deeply disturbing, guys. We hear, how we're the hotbed of innovation. I don't see evidence of being a hotbed of innovation. And there's something from Canada there. If you want to look at it, guys, it's a hell of an interesting read, and you can link from there. I'll stick it there for you. But yeah, so we see where the innovations are. But I'm astonished at South Korea. I'm always astonished, 1, 3, and 17 for a dot on the map. Hey guys, they're not a massive country. So in terms of our strategy, it really is, in addition to be innovative, it is to maximize what we can get out of our organization. So we want great resources. Remember last year, or in your third year, my apologies, you would have done inside out and outside in strategies, and the inside out is where you use the resources and capabilities to create magic in the environment for people. Much a Google thing, Google impresses so often with new products. And then obviously using skills, using your brand power to make a real difference. Guys, and then one of the problems with strategic management, in addition to the complexities of the world and the insanity that is the world, is that you have to consider the powerful actors in your operating sphere. And those are people who have a direct impact on your business. So in addition to having to concerned about how insane the environment is, and you'll remember I might have said this, but we talk about the so-called VUCA environment now. Oh, golly gosh. Volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous environment, which is what we have. And we've obviously been exposed to that since about 2015. But the truth is, you still have to also become sustainable. You have to create wealth for your key stakeholders, because the modern definition of strategic success is wealth creation for your stakeholders. And then just the last bit, in terms of strategic planning, it is where you go and you take your senior managers, those senior managers talk to their employees, and you go and do your vision, and you revisit your mission statement, and you do your SWOT analysis, and you create your strategies. And remember, strategies that capitalize on opportunities and strengths and counteract threats and weaknesses. You set your long-term objectives, and you then have at least an idea of where you're going, with the realization that most of the stuff that you've done will possibly change, will probably change. And that's the reality of our world. And I can tell you now, with what had happened last week with the announcement, guys, companies are scrambling. I think people are scrambling. I think my other concern is I've also had students leave all of a sudden because of a variety of issues, leave classes and leave courses. And that to me is again a concern. I think we'll see retrenchments. I think we'll see significant hardship in the near future. Guys, and then just in terms of strategic thinking, in order to be able to do a strategic plan, you need what is called SQ. Now, I might have discussed this with you guys. I do so many of these lectures, and my apologies for that. But we know that we get IQ. Have I discussed this with you guys before? We have IQ. So IQ is our traditional measure of supposedly how bright you are. It's flawed because there are many forms of intelligence. But remember, it is your mental age over your chronological age, your age as it is, oh, bugger off, age as it is in your ID book times 100. So if you are, if you are 13, and your mental age is 13, you have a lovely average IQ of 100. Remember, the IQ distribution is that, and the average IQ of people is 100. I recently read that the average IQ of South Africa has dropped to 87, but I find that hard to believe, because that is, not good news. And then obviously, if you think like a 13-year-old at 10, you have 130 IQ, and people start talking to you as if you are a genius. And then if you are, have a mental IQ of 8 and you are 10, we're starting to move towards being an EFF or an MK supporter. Sorry, that's when you laugh at your own jokes. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's pathetic. I'm so sorry. I'm being recorded here as well. So all the MK and EFF supporters report me immediately. So the second one there, guys, is where we look at EQ. Now, EQ, emotional intelligence, and remember, it's the ability to read your own emotions, control your own emotions, read the emotions of others, react in terms of those emotions. That has to do with motivation and empathy and those kinds of things. And then we have SQ, which is the third intelligence people are now talking about, in particular those two within business, and that is strategic intelligence. It is the ability to discern things in the environment that are not obvious, the ability to see connects between things that are highly complex and highly interrelated. And on the basis of that, the ability to be proactive in your strategic plans. People who were argued to have significantly high strategic intelligence, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs could look at the environment and saw connects that very, very few people saw, was able to launch new products. I spoke today to my third years. Imagine if Steve Jobs was removed completely from the world's history. What would we miss? How much would not have been created? Or do you think somebody else would have created it? I think Steve Jobs made a significant improvement to the world, and it was strategic intelligence. It is the ability to discern little bits of smoke in the distance and be able to figure out what the impact of that will be. Any comments about those two as key to the success of anyone in business now? Who has high emotional intelligence? Who has high emotional intelligence? Know that they are able to see their own emotions, understand their own emotions, and control their own emotions, read the emotions in others, and then behave accordingly. Who has low emotional intelligence? When they're in a bad mood, they go pick a fight. I'm talking to every woman here. When they're in a bad mood, they go pick a fight with their husband. Oh gosh, if I'm not fired after today.
Somebody is being sexist today.
I'm waiting for the woman to give me angry faces. Oh, guys, you have an unprofessional lecturer. And then SQ. This comes with wisdom, guys. This comes with wisdom. How old are they, Neil? How old are they? 8. Oh, shame, man. Who, when they're in a bad mood, will go pick a fight so that they can get rid of their bad mood or put someone else in a bad mood? Be honest. Fair amount of EQ. Yeah, no, you have high EQ because you're able to manage me, Sheila, so that takes a high EQ. Who, when they're in a bad mood? Nadia, that is so awful. But at least you're honest, hey? Not with my family, but that's the way it should be. I mean, Nadia. Anyone else want to admit that? High EQ, Kesh. So, oh, somebody else does this. Yeah. Okay. I think a lot of people. Yeah, I don't have high EQ, guys. So I must admit that. Hey, I also don't have a high IQ, and I have no SQ. That's why I lecture, I assume. Okay. Michal, go pick a fight. Hey, have you grown out of it? Nadia, have you grown out? No, Nadia is not going to grow out of it. Oh gosh. Okay, let me go on before I get fired, guys. So SQ goes hand in hand with strategic thinking. Strategic thinking is thinking in the future. It's seeing those connects in the environment that are not apparent to other people. Guys, and then just when we think of the role of strategic leaders, now this has evolved significantly because we expect every single person to think as if they're a strategic leader, because modern organizations don't have the the capability of having one person be the strategic leader. So we talk about executive teams because it is impossible for a single person to track the environment. But we see in terms of distributed leadership that we expect people there to act as strategic leaders. The lower level, those people that are part of those self-managed teams, your executive team, your senior management team, and the rest of the organization populated by self-managed teams. And that's that level where leadership rotates. We need people to almost think strategically across the board. Is that a fair comment? Is it a fair comment to say that the world is too insane for one person to be able to track what happens in the environment? Is that a fair comment?
Doc, I think it is. I was actually just looking at some of the research on my topic that I'm doing.
Yep.
It is a fair comment because like where most of organizations currently fail is that even that strategic direction sits only amongst a few executive members. And then as you go down to a lower level and you find that there's a huge disconnect. So I think what you are saying that most of organizational teams or functional teams within an organization, be it a senior to lower, they really have to, because for instance, change might happen at a lower level because they're not connected with strategy and where the business is heading. They might miss opportunities,
And that's exactly it. I think this is something that, even though we believe that it's vested in executives, has to be distributed. The world has gone too insane for it. So in terms of strategic leadership, from supposed lower down leadership, and again, guys, remember, from a critical theory and a critical management perspective, we must question everything. The current thinking has to be questioned. I think the things that make a strategic, go away. The things that make a strategic leader different to, sorry, I'm messing around, that make a strategic leader different from any other leader. The first one is that you're tracking the external environment and you're aligning the internal environment. The truth be told, every single person should be doing that. The second one is about complexity and ambiguity. Remember the VUCA environment. I think when things are so complex, to believe that one person can track, can discern, can link, can spot everything that changes or potentially will change in an environment, I think that is incredibly naive. But we also see executive teams. So these are people that have gone through the organization. They spend time in finance, they've spent time in marketing, they've spent time in operations, and they have this multifunctional, and remember we spoke about this versatilist view of the world. Yeah, I think Elon Musk, he is very good, but I also think he surrounds himself with really bright people. And yes, he is a phenomenon. But I think he surrounds himself with very bright people. And the key thing is where you are a leader. It's not the idea that you do this yourself. It is getting other people on board. And that's where Musk is very good. So in terms of strategic leadership, there are a couple of things that we need to remember. It is the ability to see into the future, to create a vision, to be light on your feet in terms of your thinking, and also to constantly assess what a viable future is for the organization. And remember, all of that starts with your vision. And we know that in a world where everything goes insane, the one binding factor that we have is a powerful vision. Can I just see, as an interesting aside, who here knows their organizational vision? Without cheating. Go for it, Neil. So you know yours, okay?
Yeah, ours is Nourishing the Nation, Doc, the short version of it. The long one is Nourishing the Nation through Quality Products.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyone else know their vision without cheating? Because I know people sometimes go and look it up and then tell me. Why must every single person in the organization be able to recite their vision in the way that Neil did? As remember, the vision, it's that wonderful
Doc, I think-
description. Yeah, go, Mondley.
I think the vision, that's your long term, where your mission statement will come from, and your strategy will also be coming from that, which then, if well cascaded to all roles, your individual goals, you need to know how does it connect to the vision. For instance, what Neil has just shared. If he looks at his goal, he looks at his own job description, he needs to find some nuggets there that connects him to the vision of the company. Otherwise, if he doesn't know and he cannot recite it, and he won't be able to know in everything that he does on a daily basis, how does it connect to the vision? For instance,
wonderful
in whatever I
Mondley.
do I nourish?
Wonderful description, Mondley. Wonderful description. And can I just find, and there must be about, what, 30 people on the call tonight? It's interesting, guys. Your company should do assessments where they make you write down the vision as a sort of test. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the mission to me is fine, but for me, the vision is far more important. And yes, both are important. I know that the mission is the purpose and all of that, but companies should make their employees write tests on what the vision is. You should be able to wake up in the middle of the night and recite it, because everything you do should be geared towards that. So in terms of that, guys, this is where we create that vision, we communicate the vision, and we walk the talk. Remember, the job of a strategic leader is to walk the talk in terms of that vision. They have to show that what the vision is supported by their actions. And then just 6 requirements, and you can see other bits. Yeah, understanding the environment. Personal leadership for me is walking the talk. It is, once you've created a vision, is every single action that you display is in line with that vision. It reminds people what the vision is, even though you're not telling them. And then just clear understanding of the business, because businesses are complex. If you think of, hold on a second, let me see if I can find this here. Imagine being the CEO of Tata Holdings. Now, I'll open that. So under Tata, now this is a global company, guys. These are the different sub-elements. Okay, so they have obviously Tata vehicles, which are improving significantly. Tatas are really good vehicles now. Tata Power, I'm assuming that's an electric company. I'm not sure. Tata Hotels, Tata Chemicals, Tata Consultancy, Consumer Products, Steel, Capital. Where's Tata? There's also Tata Tea. They're also involved with tea, guys, which is a strange one. Imagine trying to be the CEO of a company that is this diverse, with 1 million+ companies. It is everything they're involved in. I wonder if they've got rid of their tea farms, because at some point they also had tea farms. I don't see them there anymore. So when we say that you're dealing with complex environments, you're dealing with highly complex businesses as well. Give me other examples of companies that are as diversified as that. Virgin certainly would fit into that. It is seriously challenging, because business have become so complex. And then, yeah, the idea of creating teams that know how to perform, and also dealing with paradoxes, those contradictions that live in the world, guys, the contradictions that are the world. Give me examples of business contradictions that you've encountered. business contradictions that you've encountered. My favorite one is downsizing, but expecting more from people. Because we're downsizing because we are being more efficient, but we expect people to deliver at the same level or at a higher level. Think of Trump and Musk and how they are getting rid of government employees. Those government employees that are staying behind are expected to fill the void. It's an anomaly. It's a paradox. I mean, it's a real paradox for me. Another paradox is what happens between competitors. Competitors will be partners until whatever they manufacture appears on. Yeah, that is it. Yeah, laptop on leave is sorry, and I don't want to swear, but it is a paradox. I mean, leave is about leave. I mean, the one awful thing that I do every year, in particular in my mid-year holiday when we go to the Berg, is I take my laptop with. Leave is for leave. It's not to go and work. But the world is different. And yeah, guys, the other paradox that I was going to mention, and I've now forgotten what it is. It doesn't matter. Guys, and then just also has to have functional skills. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it, Tashila. The kind of, you know, we appoint rock stars here to make a difference, but the company culture doesn't allow it. It's a strange one. We deal with so many paradoxes on a daily basis, guys. It is just insane. So here is a nice slide. The kinds of things that we have to have attitude towards. Remember, the modern definition of sustainability and long-term strategic competitive advantage is wealth creation for your stakeholders. Society is one of those stakeholders, and it understands things in terms of looking after communities, making sure that we don't damage the environment, becoming carbon neutral, and honestly becoming carbon negative, where you start taking carbons out of the environment, and the silly things like planting speckworm. And remember, speckworm were planted when Lexus launched their hybrids, and they said they'd plant enough speckworm to take the carbons out of the environment that those hybrids would create for 5 years or something like that. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But that is also a contradiction, you know, carbon negativity. And then just attitude in terms of yourself. It is that walking the talk, guys. You can see the intelligence is there, emotional intelligence there, but can I tell you, also strategic intelligence. And then seeing the company and connecting those together, again, at the top, the vision. And then my favorite contradiction, stability and change. Give me an example of how stability and change can happen at the same time. How can something be stable but changing? It's a lovely contradiction. When we think of the environment and the insanity that's the environment, and we think of the organization, there are certain moments where what is in the organization will be perfectly aligned with that environment. And that's your stability. That is your stability, and that's your strategic fit. But when that changes, this moves, and that's your strategic flexibility. So when we think of the contradiction between, and it is a contradiction between stability and change, it is making sure that when changes are needed, that they happen quickly, but that we make it stable enough so that we can be aligned with the environment, and change enough so that we can remain aligned with the environment. And it's that idea of strategic fit and strategic flexibility. And then just action and reflection. And I think, guys, it is this here, dealing with the unknown. I think the world has changed so much that most of the stuff, in particular people who work at the cutting edge of innovation, are pathfinders. There are no best practices that are available for them. There's no set of rules of how we've done it before. And every time you take a step into darkness. I think the world is now at that point that most innovative people and people who work at the cutting edge of innovation are pathfinders. They step into the dark all the time, creating the rules and revising the rules as they get there. And that's where we are in the world, I think, in particular with how quick innovation is happening. Okay. Let me stop sharing there, guys. Any questions, any comments?